You were given more than another day. You were handed another opportunity to believe in something greater than your fear, your doubt, or your circumstances. More, and here's the truth. Belief is not just a thought, it's a decision. Every single miracle in history began with one person choosing to believe, even when nothing around them looked possible. More. Faith is not passive. It is a force. It's the courage to look at your situation and say, I refuse to be defined by this moment. I am defined by the God who goes before me. When you believe anymore, you activate something powerful inside yourself. It's not magic, it's alignment. Suddenly your thoughts, your choices, and your actions start moving in the direction of breakthrough. You pray differently. You expect differently. You live differently. And let me remind you of this: your hope is not wasted. Hope is fuel. It's what gets you through the valleys when the mountaintop still feels far away. Breakthrough doesn't always come instantly. Sometimes it shows up little by little, like dawn pushing away the night. But if you hold on, if you choose to believe, the miracle unfolds before your eyes. So today, don't shrink back. Stand tall. Believe boldly. Speak your prayers with conviction. Step into this morning knowing that faith is the key that unlocks doors no human hand could open anymore. And when you dare to believe, you position yourself for the miracle you've been waiting for. Belief is not something that just happens to you. It's something you choose anymore. It's not a random thought that passes through your mind on a good day when things feel easy. Belief is a deliberate act of courage, a conscious decision you make in the middle of uncertainty, in the face of fear, and even when your circumstances give you every reason to doubt. That's what makes it powerful. Anyone can believe when everything is going their way anymore. But the miracle is found in believing when the odds are stacked against you, when the evidence doesn't line up, and when the future looks unclear anymore. There comes a moment when you have to stop waiting for your situation to change before you choose to believe, because that's not how faith works. Belief doesn't wait for proof, it creates proof. More. It's the first step that sets things in motion. When you choose to believe, your entire posture toward life shifts. You pray with more confidence, you think with more clarity, and you act with more conviction. Suddenly, the things that used to intimidate you lose their grip, because you've decided to anchor your life in something greater than your fear. Think about how many times you've talked yourself out of something simply because you couldn't see how it was going to happen. Maybe it was a dream, a goal, or even a prayer that felt too big anymore. You convinced yourself it was impossible because you didn't have the resources, the connections, or the timing lined up. That's what doubt does. It builds a case against your breakthrough before you even give God a chance to move. But belief works differently. Belief says, I don't have to see the whole path anymore. I just need to take the first step. And it's in taking that step that you start to realize doors open, opportunities appear, and strength rises within you that you didn't even know you had. This is why belief is a decision. You can choose to agree with your fears, or you can choose to agree with your faith. You can choose to stay stuck in what looks impossible, or you can choose to believe that God is already making a way where there seems to be none. That choice is in your hands. No one else can make it for you. And every single time you choose belief over doubt anymore, you plant the seed for a miracle to take root. Belief is not blind optimism. It doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending your struggles don't exist anymore. It means acknowledging the reality of your situation while still trusting in a reality greater than what you see. It's standing in the middle of difficulty and declaring, I believe that something good is coming out of this. I believe that breakthrough is possible. I believe that God is still in control. That declaration may not change your situation instantly, but it will change you. And when you change, your life begins to change. When you decide to believe, even when it's hard, you align your heart with hope instead of despair. You position your mind to see solutions instead of problems. You open your spirit to receive strength instead of defeat. More. That's why miracles are born in belief. Because belief activates the part of you that refuses to quit, refuses to give up, and refuses to let fear have the final word. Belief is like a switch you flip anymore. The circumstances may not change immediately, but your perspective does. And that perspective draws you toward the very thing you've been praying for, anymore. It's the reason some people rise above situations that would have crushed others. They chose to believe, not because it was easy, but because they knew it was necessary. And if you're serious about faith, anymore, if you truly desire breakthrough, then you must be willing to make that choice every single day. Even now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can look at the uncertainty of your life, your challenges, more your unanswered prayers, and allow them to convince you that nothing will change. Or you can look at the very same circumstances and declare, I believe that something is shifting more. I believe that what I cannot see yet is already on its way. I believe that today is not the end of my story, but the beginning of a new chapter. That's the power of a decision. That's the miracle that happens when you believe. Faith is not just an idea you hold in your heart, it is action. It is the movement you make toward what you believe, even when the ground beneath your feet feels shaky. Too often, people mistake faith for waiting. They sit back, hoping something will change, praying for doors to open, but never taking a step toward them anymore. Faith is different. Faith is the courage to walk forward while the door is still shut, believing that it will swing wide open when you arrive. It is not passive, it is powerful. It requires energy, commitment, anymore, and a willingness to do what fear tells you not to do. You see, faith shows up in the way you speak, the way you think, and the way you act. It's not just words you say in a quiet moment of prayer, more. It's what you do after the prayer ends. Faith is when you declare strength over yourself in the morning, even though you feel weak, anymore. Faith is when you take that step into the unknown, even though you can't see the outcome. Faith is waking up with tears in your eyes and still choosing to believe that joy will come. It is courage in motion. More, think about the moments in life when you felt stuck. What kept you there? Was it the circumstances themselves? Or was it the decision not to act, because you were afraid of what might happen? More, fear is paralyzing. It whispers all the reasons you shouldn't try. But faith is mobilizing. It speaks into your spirit and says, move forward anyway. Trust anyway. Believe anyway. And when you follow that voice, you discover that faith not only transforms your situation, it transforms you. The beauty of faith is that it doesn't demand perfection. It demands movement. You don't need to have it all figured out before you take the first step. In fact, if you wait until everything feels certain, you'll never move. More, faith is taking the step while everything feels uncertain. It's choosing to believe before the evidence shows up. And that choice, those small, consistent actions of faith, create momentum. That momentum becomes breakthrough. Faith in action is also about declaring truth over your life when lies try to overwhelm you. When doubt says, you're not enough, faith says, I am chosen. I am equipped. I am capable. When fear says, you can't handle this, faith answers, I don't have to handle this alone. God is with me. These are not just empty affirmations anymore. They are declarations that shift the atmosphere around you. Words are seeds, and when spoken in faith, they grow into strength, courage, and clarity. But faith is not only about words, it's about what you're willing to do in alignment with those words. You can pray for a new season, but faith asks, are you preparing for it? You can pray for healing, but faith asks, anymore, are you living like you believe it's possible? You can pray for breakthrough, but faith asks, are you taking steps that show you expect it to come? Faith is an inside-out reality. It begins in your spirit, more, but it shows up in your decisions, in your behavior, and in the way you respond to challenges. Faith requires risk, but it's never reckless. It's anchored in trust. It's saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that God knows. And because I trust Him, I will move. That movement creates a ripple effect in your life. It inspires courage you didn't know you had anymore, opens doors you couldn't open yourself, and brings peace even before the answer arrives. Every great breakthrough, every answered prayer, anymore. Every miracle begins with someone daring to put their faith into action. They didn't wait until everything was perfect. They didn't wait until fear disappeared. They moved while they were still afraid. They acted while they were still unsure. And because of that, they experienced the power of faith. Today, you have the same invitation. You can wait for certainty, or you can step forward in faith. anymore. You can let fear dictate your life, or you can let faith lead the way. The choice is yours. Faith is action, and when you act on it, you don't just believe in the miracle, you step into the miracle. Hope is one of the most underestimated forces in life, yet it is the fuel that keeps you moving when everything else tells you to quit. People often confuse hope with wishful thinking, but they are not the same. Wishful thinking is passive. It says, maybe something will change if I get lucky. Hope, on the other hand, is active. Anymore. It is a decision to anchor yourself in the belief that better is possible, even if you can't see it yet. Hope is not about ignoring reality. It's about refusing to let reality have the final word. When life gets heavy, hope whispers, hold on just a little longer. When the road feels endless, hope says, there's a destination ahead, and it's worth reaching. Without hope anymore, even the smallest setback feels like the end. But with hope, even the greatest struggle feels survivable. That's why hope is not weakness. It is strength disguised as stillness, more. It keeps you steady when your circumstances are shaking. It gives you the energy to pray again, to try again, and to believe again. Hope works like oxygen for your spirit, anymore. Just as your body cannot function without breath, your faith cannot thrive without hope. It sustains you when prayers seem unanswered and delays stretch longer than expected, more. It's the voice that refuses to be silenced, saying, there is still more ahead of you than behind you. When despair tries to convince you to give up, anymore, hope lifts your eyes to the horizon and reminds you that the sun will rise again. Think about the times you felt closest to giving up. What pulled you back? Chances are, it was the faint spark of hope that refused to die out. Maybe you didn't even know how things would work out, but something inside you, something God placed in you, said, anymore, keep going. That spark is powerful. If you nurture it, it can grow into a flame that lights your path through the darkest night. Hope is also contagious. When you live with it, you inspire others to hold on too. Your words, your attitude, even your presence can breathe life into someone else's weary heart. That's why carrying hope is not just about you, anymore. It's about everyone connected to you. Your hope can become their hope, and together, you build resilience strong enough to weather any storm. But hope is not just emotional, it's strategic. It shapes your choices. When you have hope, you don't settle for less because you know more is possible. You don't lower your standards or abandon your dreams anymore, because you're convinced that what you're waiting for is worth the process. Hope keeps you moving forward when logic says stop. It builds patience when you want to rush the outcome anymore. It gives you strength to endure the waiting without losing faith in the promise. Every breakthrough story is fueled by hope, more. Behind every answered prayer is a person who refused to give up when it would have been easier to surrender. They chose to keep believing, to keep expecting, to keep preparing, anymore. Because hope would not let them quit. That's the miracle of hope. It holds you together while God is putting the pieces of your breakthrough in place, more. So when your heart feels tired and your faith feels small, don't despise hope. Don't dismiss it as something fragile or insignificant anymore. That quiet determination to believe that tomorrow can be different is the very thing that makes tomorrow possible. Hope is not weakness, it's resilience anymore. It's the fuel that keeps faith alive and positions you for the breakthrough you've been praying for. Miracles don't always arrive in an instant. Sometimes we imagine breakthrough as this dramatic, anymore overnight change. One moment life is hard, the next moment everything is perfect. While God is certainly able to move suddenly, more often than not, miracles unfold gradually. They show up in pieces, in steps, in small victories that build on one another, until you look back and realize the mountain has been moved. It's not always the lightning strike. Sometimes it's the sunrise, slow but steady, anymore. Pushing away the darkness until the light fully breaks through. This truth can be frustrating when you're desperate for change. You pray for healing and expect to wake up whole the next morning, anymore. You pray for provision and hope the need is met instantly. You pray for direction and want the full map laid out before you. But more often, what you receive is a glimpse, a step, a small shift. And in those moments, you may be tempted to doubt, thinking nothing is happening. Yet that small shift is evidence that the miracle is already in motion. Progress often hides in the gradual, anymore. It looks like strength returning day by day instead of all at once. It looks like the right person crossing your path at just the right time, opening a door you didn't see before anymore. It looks like clarity forming in your mind little by little, until suddenly you realize you know what to do. These are not accidents. These are pieces of the miracle unfolding more. Proof that God is working even when the pace feels slow. The danger comes when we despise small beginnings. We overlook the small steps because we're so focused on the final breakthrough. But every major victory is built on small wins. Every answered prayer often begins with small confirmations along the way. When you honor those small moments, when you recognize them for what they are, anymore, you find the strength to keep believing until the bigger picture comes into focus. Think about the way the seasons change. You don't go from winter to summer overnight. The shift happens gradually. The days get a little longer, the air grows a little warmer, the trees start to bloom again. One day, you look around and realize spring has arrived. That's what gradual miracles feel like. Anymore, one step at a time, one layer at a time, God is bringing life back into places that felt barren. Patience becomes essential in this process. Waiting is not wasted time, it's training ground. In the waiting, anymore, your faith is stretched, your character is shaped, your resilience is built. You may not see the breakthrough fully formed, but something inside of you is being prepared to handle it when it does arrive. Anymore. Sometimes the gradual pace isn't about the miracle being delayed, it's about you being developed. Breakthrough also comes in stages, because it allows you to appreciate the journey more. If everything happened instantly, you might miss the lessons, the growth, and the depth that come from the process. By watching the miracle unfold step by step, anymore, you not only receive the blessing but also the wisdom, the strength, and the gratitude that make it meaningful. The process itself becomes part of the miracle, anymore. So don't discount what's happening just because it's not happening fast enough. Don't mistake gradual progress for no progress. Every small step is evidence of momentum. Every little shift is a reminder that God is at work. Breakthrough doesn't always come like an explosion. Sometimes it comes like a quiet dawn, gentle but unstoppable. And if you hold on, if you stay faithful in the small stages, you'll look back and see that every piece was leading you toward the miracle you've been waiting for. Bold belief positions you for answered prayer. Anymore. It's one thing to believe quietly in your heart, but it's another thing entirely to stand tall, speak it out, and live as though you know the breakthrough is already on its way. Bold belief is not timid, hesitant, or half-hearted. It is the kind of faith that refuses to shrink back in the face of uncertainty. It dares to expect more, to declare more, and to prepare for more, even before there is any visible proof. Bold belief says, I don't just think God might do it. I know He will. This kind of belief shifts how you approach prayer, anymore. Instead of whispering requests with doubt tucked inside your words, you begin to pray with confidence, as though you're talking to a Father who is both willing and able to move mountains on your behalf. Your words carry weight because they come from a place of conviction, and that conviction doesn't just stir heaven, it stirs you. Suddenly you pray differently, you carry yourself differently, anymore, and you respond to challenges differently. Bold belief also changes how you prepare for your future. If you really believe breakthrough is coming, you don't sit back and wait, you start making room for it. You prepare the space, you set the table, you build the foundation for what you're asking God to do. That preparation is itself an act of faith. It says, I believe so strongly that I'm getting ready before I see it. Think of it like planting seeds. You don't wait for the rain to start before you sow them. You plant in faith, and more, trusting that the rain will come, and when it does, you're positioned to receive the harvest. What holds many people back is the fear of disappointment. They worry that if they believe too boldly, they'll look foolish if things don't happen right away. But holding back doesn't protect you. It limits you. Playing small doesn't stop disappointment anymore. It just stops you from experiencing the fullness of what's possible. Bold belief takes the risk of expectation, because it knows that even in waiting, God is still working. There is power in speaking out what you believe. Words are not empty. They frame your reality, they strengthen your faith, and they set the atmosphere around you. When you declare breakthrough, you're not just talking about what you hope will happen. You are aligning your spirit with what you know God can do. More. That alignment positions you to recognize opportunities when they come, and to step into them with courage instead of hesitation. Bold belief also unlocks resilience. When obstacles show up, anymore. Instead of collapsing under pressure, you rise with determination. You're not surprised by resistance because you've already decided that the promise is greater than the problem anymore. That mindset keeps you steady. You're less likely to give up at the first setback because you're anchored in the expectation that what you believe will eventually come to pass anymore. And here's the beautiful thing. Bold belief is contagious. When others see you standing in faith, declaring what you're believing for, and preparing like it's already on the way anymore, they're inspired to believe for themselves. Your courage creates a ripple effect that strengthens not only your journey, but the faith of those around you. More. This is why bold belief positions you for answered prayer. It moves you from passive wishing to active expectation. It opens your heart, sharpens your focus, anymore, and builds the resilience you need to hold on until the answer arrives. You don't stumble into breakthrough by accident. You step into it with faith that is confident, expectant, and unshakable anymore. Bold belief is not arrogance. It's alignment with the truth that God is able. And when you choose to believe boldly, you're not just waiting for a miracle. You're already standing in the place where the miracle can meet you. You've heard it said that belief is a decision, faith is action, hope is fuel. Miracles often unfold gradually, and bold belief positions you for breakthrough. When you put these truths together, you realize something extraordinary. You are not powerless, you are not forgotten anymore, and you are not stuck. You are standing on the edge of possibility anymore. And the only thing separating you from the miracle you're praying for is the decision to believe and the courage to act like it's already on its way. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for proof. Don't wait for everything to make sense before you decide to believe. Choose it now. Act on it now. Hope fiercely, even when the night feels long. Trust the process, even when it unfolds step by step. And above all, believe boldly, because bold belief is what unlocks heaven's best in your life. And while this morning is not just another day, it's a divine opportunity to realign your heart, strengthen your faith, fuel your hope, and step forward into breakthrough. If you dare to believe, if you dare to act anymore, if you dare to hope and refuse to quit, then you will not just see change, you will live the miracle. So rise up today with this truth in your spirit. There is a miracle when you believe more, and that miracle is waiting for you right now. Step into it.